So what's happening?
Yeah, been a busy couple of weeks. You've had the vid.
Yeah, I've been dying, and I was getting better, and then I was actually well enough to basically all that happened was it was badass, um, sort of an illness, but after a week it was all right, and then it was a bit of tiredness when I have had mentally stimulating like meetings that I was like leading, and I would finish them and I'd be like, wow, I can feel the heat has hit me there. And then, so working from home was all right. I basically worked from home the whole time through it. So I was pitching in and out of certain things, even though I was in the height of it. I had MBA hand-ins as well in the middle of it. So I couldn't stop. And having the two kids. So I think if you had time just to sit back and relax and stay in bed, I think you'd be way easier to get over it. But the weird things happened to me. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a few red marks on my hand. So the last 2 days, I've had this rash.
Yeah.
And it's all over basically. It itches, and it's the fat on my hand. It's like it stings. If I hold anything hot, it's like a burn. It's like baby skin.
So has anyone else had that? Like the missus or kids? No.
No. And actually, weirdly, track and trace keep phoning you throughout your isolation thing. And to be fair, actually, it was quite a funny story. One of them, she had really bad signal, and she was just the most grumpiest person ever on this NHS track and trace. And she asked me this question, and obviously this is the height of me being ill as well. Bear in mind, it's day 6 or day 7, and she goes, "Okay, so have you had any of the following symptoms? Headache, no. Sore throat, no. Have you lost your smell or taste?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I have actually." And she went, "When was that?" I went, "Monday." So then, stupid lady went and typed in Monday as day 1 of my symptoms. I went,
no.
"Oh, just to confirm, your isolation now will end on the 8th of October." I'm like, "Nah, it ends on the 3rd." She went, "No, the computer says that now." I said, "Well, change the date." She went, "I can't. You have to phone 119 now." I said, "You joking? You asked the question, have you got these symptoms?" And I said, no. And then yes to the last one. You didn't ask me about, because the rest of the conversation was my wife was positive. The day after, I got a positive lateral flow, then got the cough. So obviously I was positive from the Thursday, not the Monday. And I said, that's huge because it affects work, nursery, everything that does. She went, "Oh, sorry, you have to phone this number." And I said, "Well, your signal's awful. Phone me back." She never phoned me back. Then I kept getting a phone call. I just ignored it. And then they passed me on to Staffordshire Council. So they phoned me saying, "Oh, you're apparently not responding." So I explained the story. They were fine. And anyway, I got a phone call this morning, and it was a really nice one. She was like, at the end of the call, she was like, "I was very nervous phoning you because you've got a mark on you saying you're grumpy." I said, "That's ridiculous." So I told her the story. She went, "Yeah, I do. It doesn't really make sense because you don't sound grumpy at all. You've been very nice." And I was like, "I am nice. It's just the lady was really obnoxious and she wasn't very good, and telling me that I was going to have to isolate for another 4 days. She didn't appreciate how much of an impact that makes when you're fine. Like,
That's the
unbelievable."
problem, isn't it? When everyone agrees to these random rules that come out, they're just so arbitrary, aren't they? And it's one size fits all. And in her little script, she probably did nothing wrong. She's told to let's go through that and then start it. So even though you can go, "No, but I physically did a test and it tested positive 4 days before that." But in her little scripts, that isn't in there.
Yeah, she just typed it in.
She followed her little thing, and they have no clue. This is like a small little like anecdotal version, isn't it, of the disruption it can cause, because it's only 4 days here or there, and they're going, "Well, what does that matter? We're protecting a pandemic." And you go, "You're not though, are you? You're following arbitrary rules." And it means it stops you for an extra 4 days being able to do just day-to-day stuff. And obviously your missus are also ill at the same time. Like the kids need to go do stuff, and I need to go do stuff. And the rules are 10 days, and you're basically going, it's 14 now because you're counting me 4 days later from when I physically tested positive, which surely is the time it should count. But I think in reality, probably what they're almost saying is those tests aren't accurate. So instead, we look for symptoms. And the first time you displayed a COVID symptom was that day, and that's what their justification probably is, even though it's clearly nonsense because you were ill 4 days earlier, like in bed ill. So that was obviously when it started.
It was just insane. And because they do proper hound you as well, and they constantly message you to say, "What do you do?" So when I just changed my story, fortunately, was for the days before, the 3 days before I got the positive, if you like, I'd worked from home because I had another illness, I had like a bit of a sore tummy, so I stayed from home anyway. So fortunately, I didn't have to go and give everyone their contact details. So all I had to do is give wives and the 2 kids. And the lady was so funny. She was, I just put your contact details down. So I just got a little text message saying, "Hi Jesse, you need to self-isolate now for 10 days."
You got to show Jesse like he's fucking 10 months old. Here you go. Read this, mate. No going out. Stop texting that girl. You're not going to meet her. You're barred for another 10 days.
So yeah, it's been insane, and yeah, all getting good now. So the thing is, I'm full. Regardless of being in and not having anything else to do, I've been putting my efforts and mental thing into surviving and doing a bit of work. So I haven't really done much listening around Bitcoin or reading about Bitcoin other than what smashed me in the face, and that's obviously the price. So it'd be interesting to have a catch up today. I know we've got a few agenda items anyway from previous weeks. But I think it'd be probably quite pertinent to start with the last 7 days, or probably actually about 8 or 9 days. So payday thing happened again. So it hit the 26th, and the price went down a few K. So yeah, and weirdly, we got an NHS pay rise of 1.5% backdated to April. So we had a little bit more in the old pay. So whacked in 800 quid, and it was 1,000 now. It's interesting, isn't it? So it's obviously got up 20% or whatever. So that sort of just showed you what's happened over the last week. And so when it's gone from, I use English money, so from 30K up to 40, and it's now around 39.5. And if you follow, well, I actually did do a quick Google. I put into Google today Bitcoin to see what was coming up at the top of it, and the Independent came up.
All right.
It's an independent paper, independent.co.uk, and it said price forecast by an analyst, and the analyst actually Plan B is the person that I follow on Twitter, isn't he? So he was named on it.
That'll be interesting. And what did they say?
Yeah, so they followed, and they actually have predicted using his S2F model.
Octaflow.
Yeah, they've said they've actually used it, and he said he's been correct over the last of the history of Bitcoin, and they estimated that it was going to be, oh Christ, what did they say? It says I think it was like 68 by the end of this month. Let's have a look if I can find it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's going to be by the end of this month. It's going to be 68K. Where's it gone? And anyway, basically by the end of the year, I found it. Here we go. So it said it was going to be, yeah, it basically goes back and it says what he's predicted from August and September, and he's been pretty accurate. And that was it. He goes 64K by the end of this month. It's going to be 98. This is dollars, $98,000 in November. December will just hit 100K, finishing the year at 135.
Yeah, 135 is a number I've heard as well for 2021.
Yeah. And that makes absolute sense to following it, and then it will probably stay around that sort of number. It might probably go up to maybe a bit more, but it'll hover that number then for the next 3 years until halving too.
Oh yeah,
probably hover around 100, won't it? So it's going to go up to about probably $190,000, and it'll bang down to 100K.
Yeah.
So the bubble will burst, won't it? To 100.
Yeah, well, because that 135 number, that's the bottom of his range for this set of the halving. So for this bull market, the bottom of his range is 135. The mid range is 288, and then if we do what we did in 2017, which following his model, we shouldn't have gone as high as we did. We shouldn't have gone to 20. 20 was near the top of his range. So I think he was predicting more like 14, 15.
Yeah,
and we overshot. So what I would expect, and that was the overshot the mid-range, what he's expecting. So what he's expecting, he's only clarified himself down. And so essentially what I think his bottom of his range was 10K, middle was like 14 or 15. So this time when he's saying 135, that's the equivalent of him saying 10 last time. And it's 288. And typically we go even higher than that, because as we get to there, we get FOMO. And then we get these big spikes where you go out of his range completely and come back.
Yeah.
And that's where the big drawbacks kind of come in. So 135, yeah, is the safe number, which is just awesome to be saying. It's because that's pretty much, give or take a 3x from here. So that takes us in pounds pretty much to pretty much 100K nice and rounded up. Yeah. And that's the bottom of the range. And so if we do what will happen in 2017, where we get the FOMO, and this won't just be retail FOMO, it'll be institutional investor FOMO, company FOMO, and
We've seen that,
and even country FOMO. So these guys, there's a different level of money now. This isn't a couple of people working in offices that have scrabbled together 5 or 10K. This is countries, companies, and institutional investors. When these boys come in, it's billions straight away, and that's what we've seen over the last week. There's been 2 occasions where we're around that 40K, and weirdly, I think the 40K one was largely a short squeeze, while a lot of people were betting on the price going down, and we've discussed this before. So when people get too confident the price is going to go down, it only takes a small movement up, and they all have to then buy at a higher price, and we shoot up. So that was the first leg, and then the leg we had. So that pretty much, I think, in dollars, that took us from, I think it was like 39 or something, straight to about 47, 48. And then someone just market brought, they waited a week, market brought $1.6 billion worth. And that took us from 48 straight to 55 in 5 minutes. And that happened in the last couple of days. So yeah, that's what we were talking about, right? And the great thing is you can see it on the blockchain. You can just see that in a 5-minute period, $1.6 billion. So it's 29,000 Bitcoin. Someone just put it onto an exchange somewhere and press buy, which is just insane. And this is the thing is that's when people say like, oh, for the price of Bitcoin to continue going up, like you keep needing an exponential amount of more money to move the price. Because back when we were 1 or 2K, just if someone market brought 10 or 20 million, it would pump 20% in a 5-minute period. And once we get to 50K, everyone's been going, well, 10 or 20 million won't do it now. Now you need 1 billion. That's not going to happen. It's happening. As we go, more and more people that have got more and more money are realizing what Bitcoin is. They're being orange pilled. They're realizing that inflation is the biggest scam in history. And they're converting their assets from stocks, shares, property, pounds, and dollars, and they're moving it into Bitcoin. And for these real big guys, they're not even all in yet. They're just testing it. They're going, oh, I have, say, 50 billion. I want to get 5%, 10% into Bitcoin. They're kind of punting. It's their little hedge. But when these guys just hedge, that means 1.6 billion. That's their punt. And that's what we're seeing. And like we always said, there's something like 42 million, I think there's around 42, 45 million millionaires on the planet. And there's only 21 million Bitcoin. So they all can't have one Bitcoin. So it's a race. That's what we're talking about. Millionaire FOMO. That's what we wanted. That's what's really going to drive Bitcoin into the millions, because all the millionaires can't have one. They can't have a whole coin. They can't be whole coiners. They're going to have to accept just 10,000, 100,000, 1 million sats. And so yeah, if you've got your one Bitcoin already, then you're ahead of the millionaires.
It is insane because what you said there about how much it's going to need to market move to what we've just seen over the last week, it is absolutely crazy numbers. Like you say, $1.8 million or whatever went in. Because when we were sat here in 17, you would see it moving by £100 and it would be switching in every second by like £5 to £10. They'd be dotting up and down. But now you refreshed, it's gone up or down £1,000.
That's a normal day.
Yeah, well, in one day you can like lose 20K, you can make 20K. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Obviously, certain other people can make hundreds of Ks in one day, and it is crazy, isn't it, when you think about it? And the amount of money that's going in it is the next level up. But will we see country FOMO? That's the doubtful bit from my point of view. I think we're going to be seeing. I can't see those numbers coming by the end of the year. I genuinely can't see it. I think
You doubtful.
Yeah, plan Bs. I think we will see those numbers in the future. I just do not see them coming so soon.
You don't see 100K in pounds this year.
No, I can't imagine it, honestly.
Bearish. I need to kick you off this podcast.
I know. I know, but I think it's worth to put the opinion out there. The way it's got to 40, like it has, we'll see when it gets to all-time highs. But the bullish side of me says we haven't even heard it in the news yet. There's been no news, like headline news, so we know we're early on that side for this run.
Exactly.
We know that.
We're not
but
over
then
the all-time high yet, are we? So
no, so it is going to be interesting. But should we do a prediction then? Where are you sat with Plan B? Are you sat with them? You following the stock to flow, or you have you got your own? So let's go by the end of 2021. What the peak's been? Is it the peak then? Or are we still on the run? Or because obviously we could do a little hump. So at the end of the year, we could actually be lower than what we could be. So I want the highest number that we're going to see in 2021, and where we'll end up on New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
when we're sipping champagne.
Yeah, on any day, it's nearly impossible to get close to the price because it's just going to be so volatile. Especially seeing I think we are going to be in crazy territory. But at the beginning of the year, my prediction was 750k in pounds. So that's about I think 650 or 600k in pounds. But yeah, we've had a bit more of a rough year. I think we were on the trajectory, but then we had some pullbacks from. Because like Elon started the FOMO and it was going nicely, and then he also ended it and pushed it all to Doge. So he kind of derailed us a little bit, I think. So
he did.
I would just based on this and based on the fact we're in October now as well, so it's only October, November, yeah, there's only 3 months left. So I would halve it. I'll go to $350, $350,000. So about 250k. That would be my prediction. We'll all hit that in the next 3 months. At some point, end of the year, I don't know. It depends where we hit it. It might roll over to next year, but yeah, it's just we're just getting started. This is the build up. We haven't even started mooning yet. This is the build up, right? So in all the graphs that you see, we have this little spike, we have a pullback, and everyone thinks it's over. Then we go. So we haven't. Then we go yet. We're just building back up to the all-time high. So if we go and we use the percentages that's happened last time and the billions that are coming in right now continue to come in, and we just get some billionaires, whether it's countries or companies, it's easy we get to £200,000 a coin. So that'd be my prediction. What's yours?
Will there be enough Bitcoin though on the exchanges, or will that be the hindrance, do you think?
No, there's always. Well, that's the thing. Like, if there isn't,
well, there 22 billion. Is it no 220 million available on the exchanges, free flowing?
There always changes, right?
So pounds, sorry, it can't be that many. No, I've definitely saw it on Coinbase. I'm sure I saw something about that, saying about how many is free flowing, whatever that means.
That just means how much is traded that day.
Oh, is that what that means? Because I just thought a sense check of those numbers is more than Bitcoin in supply ever. So that was obviously a rubbish.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah, because I think typically on Coinbase, there's billions of Bitcoin traded each day, which is why when someone just buys a billion, that shoves the buy side hugely higher than the sell side. So the price pumps 20%. So that's the thing, right? So I think that is what's going to drive this price, because what we're seeing at the moment, I think it's around 85% of the Bitcoin has not moved in the last 3 months. Right, so people are just buying it and holding it. They're moving it to their cold storage. So that's 85% of the supply isn't available.
Yeah.
That literally means only 15% of the Bitcoin is available in circulation on exchanges. So that's only a couple of million Bitcoin. And so it doesn't take much. So that is my kind of hypothesis really, is once these guys come in and start buying 10, 20, $30 billion worth, no one's selling Bitcoin at this price. So what has to happen, if there's no one to sell it at 55k, it goes to 56k, then 57, and they have to keep going up until they find someone to go, hello guys, someone needs to sell some fucking Bitcoin, and eventually it goes to 100, 150, 200, and finally at these kind of price points, people that have been in since Bitcoin was £10 or whatever, they finally go, you know what, that's my price. I'm gonna cash out a couple of Bitcoin and buy a house. So that they find the buyers. But at this price, they're just sat there going, no chance, I ain't moving. So when these billionaires come in, there wasn't any Bitcoin to buy. So the only way they're going to get it, you have to put the price up. And eventually some people fold and go on then. I'll cash out and go and sort out my family for the rest of my life. And you can have a couple of my Bitcoin, and I'll take 500,000 and go and buy a nice house and live happily ever after. But I'm keeping the rest of it. So that's what drives the price up. It's the scarcity of Bitcoin is coming true, right? This is, you can't just print more shares, you can't print more Bitcoin. And once these big boys come in, there isn't enough Bitcoin for all of them.
Yeah, and interestingly, I've never seen it this way before, but trading activity on Coinbase says 55% sell, 44% buy, and it's always normally the other way around, and the typical hold time is 85 days. So that's obviously been skewed by some major buys and sells lately. But would a sell on Coinbase be to a ledger? Is that technically a sell in their eyes, or is that held on Coinbase? They won't probably know, will they? Judging by the fact that you said 85% of Bitcoin hasn't moved in 3 months, suggests to me that that's probably, as soon as it's moved off the platform, it's a sell.
No. That's purely on their platform. So they're just right. So all you're counting there is 85. That's their view of Bitcoin. So that's the buys and sells. So that is their metric, right? So if they're saying 55% of people have been selling and 45, straight away you'd have to, that sounds strange. So I don't know how that's the case, because the price has obviously been shooting up over the last 85 days. But who knows? Maybe there's been some big dumps, and that's what is skewing it at the moment. But no, that's purely on the platform. So the couple of million Bitcoin that are out there right now, they're trading. So that couple of million Bitcoin are the ones that are dictating the price, because 85% of the Bitcoin is just sat in ledgers, just sat safe, which essentially what that does is it builds the floor. Like, the price of Bitcoin can't go below a certain point because there's just no one else selling. So there's always buyers, and the price kind of goes down to a point and no one's selling. Everyone else is like just rock solid. Like, I'm not selling my Bitcoin. I'm waiting for hyper Bitcoinizations. Maybe I'm going to be buying houses and stuff in my Bitcoin, and I'll be able to give someone 1 million sats and buy a house. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm never going to sell. So that's why each time, like, the price floor just keeps chasing Bitcoin up. And it looks like the price floor at the moment is about $40,000. So we've bounced from $40,000 up to 55. So now we're suddenly in that weird place where we could easily drop $15,000 tomorrow, because that's the Bitcoin on the exchanges, and someone could just pump it back down. But we'll hit 40 and they run out of Bitcoin to sell. It's all been sold and everyone else is holding it. So eventually more people come on the platform and the price starts ticking back up. So each time the floor just keeps rising and rising and rising and rising. So that's why we say, like, pretty much the next floor is going to be probably around the £100,000 mark. It's currently about 30,000, and it'll be about 3 times higher than that in the next year. And then we'll be bored quite quickly. We'll be having £10,000 days on a daily basis, and you won't even blink an eye, because that'll just be a 10% swing. And then eventually we're going to get to £100,000 days. It's going to be insane, but it's going to be normal for the people getting in. They're just going to be having their normal 10% swings because they brought in at £1 million a coin.
Of course, yeah. And I think that's quite a good explanation of why the price, because the thing that always doesn't make sense, from especially being through this 2017 peak and drop, we saw it go from $3,000 to $2,000. In the middle went via 14, 15 and 16,000 pounds. And so you always think, can it go crashing back down? But then the point of what you've made is, as time goes on, the hardened Bitcoiners are sticking with not selling and hodling, and that's the key. So you got so many Bitcoin that's not available, therefore can't be traded. So it's solid, isn't it? So the price can't go any lower because there's nobody there selling it with that price tag, and that makes sense. So when it goes to,
what would you sell Bitcoin for? Like, I was chatting to one of my mates literally today about it, and he was thinking, like, at a certain price I might sell. I'm like, what do you convert it into? And he went, I don't really know. I need to take profit. And you go, but what for? Like, just leave it in. Like, just, unless you have something very specific you need to buy, and it's like an expense that, you know, kids going to uni, or like buying a house or something that you're going to live in. And he was actually went, I might buy a property and rent it out. And I just went, why? What are you doing that for? It's like, well, because then it's a reliable income and stuff. So, have you worked out whether the income that you're going to get from that house, is it going to be more than the Bitcoin gains? You went, oh no. So what you're doing, you're on autopilot. You're still in the fiat world. This is not a normal investment. Like the entire value of the pound is going to go to fucking zero, and everyone's going to denominate everything in Bitcoin. You have to leave your sats. You have to, unless you need it, do not sell. Do not sell a single sat. You should be stacking. Unless you absolutely categorically need the money, then fine, convert your sats into some services that you need, or into some goods, fine. But don't just do it to diversify your investment into property, because you're just purely doing that for gains. And do you honestly think property is going to outstrip Bitcoin gains over the next 10 years? And he just answered, no, I don't. Like, so what are you doing it for then? You went, I don't know.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I had exactly the same conversation with Dad yesterday. Identical.
Is he trying to take profit?
No. So I was
I've got it. Right.
That's what I said to him. Yeah. So I said to him, and we were just discussing the price and stuff, and he was just like, he was asking my plan. So, and then I said to him, well, what do you think? Like, what happens when it hits, let's say 100k for a coin? And he told me, oh yeah, I think 100k probably, and then he went up a bit higher straight away. And then he said, yeah, I might sell it. And I said, okay, well, what would you spend the money on, by the way? Because obviously you're not exactly poor, right? Yeah. Both retired. Oh, mum should be retired, but she's not. But and he goes, oh, I might invest it. And I was laughed. And he went, what would I invest it in though? Oh, I wouldn't do that. So even he said he would invest it.
There you go.
I was like, isn't it invested? It's like, but again, he doesn't fully get what we've just discussed then. So he'll, in the back of his mind, think it's going to go back down to 15, 20k. So I want to take a bit now. And then I was like, it might get a nice car. I said, whatever you do, don't say that to Mr. All-In. So do not say that. Because that's what I like joking with you with. I just text you saying, oh, I've just, because I've got COVID, I can't go out and test drive my Lambo, which I've just purchased. And you're like, prick.
Yeah. No, that's funny. I think, because like literally, they and to be fair, like they do come from the world of, oh, I need to get money in an ISA. I need to like buy some type of like pension fund, without realizing all these things are broken now. Yeah, it's not 50 years ago. Like when their parents did it, it made absolute sense. Number one, Bitcoin didn't exist. And number two, you would get 8 to 10 to 12, 14% gains per year. So if you made like 100k, it would make absolute sense to put that 100k in an ISA, leave it there for 10 years. You'd get $500,000 at the end of that. Yeah, it's just great. That is almost a no-brainer, nice and safe investment. But we're at the end of the time that the pound and all that is going to be around. All these ISAs, all the pension pots, everything, they've all got virtually 0% interest rates on it now. So if you put that 100k in there, in 10 years time, you'd have like 110k, which with inflation is less. It looks like on paper, oh, it made 10k. No, you didn't. The spending power, let's say the Lambo was 100k today, just for sake of argument. In 10 years time, that Lambo is now 250. You walk up with your 100k, go, I want to buy the Lambo now. They're like, no, it's 250. You know, but I've got 110, not 100. Yeah, you've lost 50% of your buying power. You can only buy half a Lambo now. So yeah, unless you want guaranteed losses, that's why you would sell your Bitcoin and invest it in something else. Especially if you're going to keep it in cash or put it in an ISA. It's still early days. It's the thing is like it's probably still his like proper first bull market, isn't it? And everyone tries to guess the top and get out, and it's like you just need to ride it up, ride it back down, and then ride it up in 4 years' time. Just enjoy the ride. This is the future of money. Everyone's going to be denominating in sats in probably 10 years' time, and you're going to really rue the day that you sold your sats at 100k or something, because you'll be essentially having to convert your pounds back into Bitcoin at £1 million or £2 million a coin, going, what the hell is this? Like, I sold so cheap. Like, it felt high at the time, but it's just because that was the cycle you got in. But it's like the people that bought Bitcoin at £1, loads of them sold at 10, loads of them sold at 100, loads of them sold at 1,000, all thinking this is all-time highs. I don't want to do the 80% drawdown. But guess what? The people that went, I'm going to live through it, they now still have those £1 Bitcoin at £40,000 of Bitcoin, and are richer beyond their wildest dreams. And it's still got so much to go. Like 15 million pounds a coin is the top. That's everything. That's the world. So if we get to 15 million and people start selling their Bitcoin and buying stuff with it, then it's okay. Now we allow it. That's the top. I agree. Yes. Now we just have 2 to 4% fluctuation per year, up and down. There's no crazy gains left. We have everything. We're on a Bitcoin standard now. It's just the same with gold, right? Gold went crazy up. It took gold 50 years. I think it will take Bitcoin about 20 years, maybe 30. And then loads of fluctuation. Once you get there, you have 500 years of flat. So we're an exciting 20, 30 years. We're 12 years in. This is the exciting time. Get in, convert your money. You don't want to be the guy holding the rice stone.
You don't. No, interesting. But the thing is, it's that balance, isn't it? And I think every Bitcoiner will probably have this in the back of their mind, and I'm still puzzled with it because I had this conversation. It was only again yesterday with Holly because obviously I gave her a little update of where we were, and
she's just like, "Fucking hell, we need to get a Lambo."
No,
or a new kitchen.
No. She's better than that. She's better than that. So she was just like, when does it get to the point where I don't have to go to work? That's what she wants to know. And I was like, I get that. So this is the point, isn't it? It's all good and well huddling but keeping your own level of living. I want to get to a point where I have bought my house and have no purpose to go to work. Yeah. And there's only, you don't want to be. See, the thing is, life's short, isn't it? We just don't know what's around the corner. So you don't want to just be this super, potentially super rich person at 60 if you were going to drop dead before 62, sort of thing. Yes. So you need to balance it. So my aim is by the next halving to not have to work. That's what I'd like it to be. And then that means we can just let the kids go to school. We can do hobbies like either have a little, little projects. This is what we've always talked about: buying some houses, doing them up ourselves. I know you'd hate that, and it does, but it's something you can do, and then you can, it keeps you busy. Or because we can't just go traveling. You see, that's what I would do otherwise. So it's an interesting thing. What would you do, and why would you want the money out? So So I've just been thinking about this. So instead of doing something like a project, like having to take 200 or 300k out to build a house up, let's just take that out and go. We don't need to work for 10 years. Basically, I'm following a very good model that someone else has done. And I think that's quite a good idea because that way then you've got the pressure of not having to work. Why would we go to a bloody hellhole in Walsall or something, doing up a 30, 40 grand house to make 10 grand? Like, it is more value leaving in Bitcoin. What isn't more value leaving in Bitcoin is my life when I'm in my 30s, or maybe probably touching 40s by the time it comes to it. I've been able to do what the hell I want, when I want, and you can do some useful stuff. And so it's balancing that point, because what you don't want to do, fortunately, from what we've discussed today, the price is going to always stay to a point where you can buy your house for this from now on. But there is always that doubt in your mind that it goes back to the price it is now, and you can't sell, because if you sell now, you may as well. It's like winning a big bet or something. It's not life changing. You got to get to the point where you can buy your house but still have money left in the future. So it's not there. Yeah. It's that balance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the thing is, like Bitcoin, like there's a good phrase that, like, Bitcoin essentially is like time in energy. So essentially all money is, it buys you time. So people pay you for your time, and then if you have money, you get to buy your time back. So that is what you should be buying. You shouldn't be buying material items. You should be buying your time. So that's exactly what I did. I bought my time. I didn't want to be paid by the hour to go into work. I decided I had to exit some of my Bitcoin, and I brought my time back. I now have brought like 5 years of my life for me to live and do whatever the fuck I want with it. So Bitcoin allowed me to buy 5 years of time. And that was, you can't put a price on these things because you get to do whatever you want in that 5 years. Whereas,
stay at home for a year?
I know. Well, for this one, yeah, this one was a shit one. But Yeah, last year wasn't particularly great. I got to Sweden for a bit, but then yeah, it's so that's what you get to do. Yeah, so you buy time, and buying time is never. You should never apologize for buying time, because we all have limited time on this earth. So if you get to buy time and do whatever you want with it in that time, then that was worth it. And with material items, or if you're going to take out Bitcoin and put it into other investments and like for houses and do them up, you're nearly always going to be disappointed with the gains. It's always going to be like, what are you really doing? If you're just going to try and keep yourself busy, just do something else, because the money that would have been in that house would have been better off in Bitcoin and just going up faster. So it's nearly dumb. Like just
more effort.
You're paying. You're literally paying to do that, because you're losing money, and you might even lose money on the investments you do, especially on the first houses. You might spend 30 grand, and then the price of the house only goes up by 25 plus fees. You might lose like 7 or 10 grand on one of, because not everyone makes money, right? Especially if you're trying to flip them quickly. You know that, especially in this kind of crazy market we're in right now, and if kind of some of my predictions come true, and the pound hyperinflates and it all goes crazy, people aren't going to have money, and the price of property would take a dip during all this. It would actually take a dip, and we could have another kind of 9/11 type event where the price of houses will go down by 30 to 40%. So you don't want to be buying the top of one of them and take a 200 grand mortgage out, and overnight the price of your house is now only worth 100k, and you've got a mortgage for 200. And now you're like trying to do it up, and you're like, oh my god, we're trying to turn this house from 200 to 240, and it's now worth 100, and now we'll be lucky to get 140 back, take a 60k hit on it. So yeah, I wouldn't go into that type of stuff. I think if you're going to go into business, try and set up a business that is interesting, something you love to do, something that you get passion out of, something that is genuinely a passion. And that's why I set up a Bitcoin education business. You know, I knew it wasn't going to return more money than my Bitcoin gains, but I enjoy doing it. And it is basically, I don't feel like I'm working when I do it. I love it. So,
well, it's really helped people as well, that app, because somebody's very grateful for you right now, because I told you, I was talking to him 2 weeks ago, just gave him the app, gave him a little chat, and they bought in just at 30, maybe 31, 32. So they straight away hit some gains, and then that's how to hook and sink someone, that is. And the guy's pretty frugal as well. So the fact that they trusted and invested in that said quite a lot.
yeah.
So obviously that's a really good way, whereas it could quite easily have been the other way. It could have been coming in now because they'd have heard a bit on the news potentially and seen this massive steep peak, and then they bought in and it went down to 36, and obviously straight away they think it's going to go to zero again. So it's really an interesting time when they did buy in, but it was very much speeded along by your app, because he was like, I didn't understand money, and I didn't understand money.
No one does. I didn't.
And I remember when you said to me, because I did test a few of your lessons in the early doors, and then I obviously got distracted, and I asked you a question. You were like, "If you read the bloody app, you didn't know the answer." So I did the app in one or two nights, and it was literally the day that it clicked for me. Absolutely was the day it clicked for me, because up till then I was just following in your footsteps. I just trusted you, and I didn't verify. I just blindly went with you. And I thought, well, you're going to do all right. You've always done all right. You're generally pretty switched on, and you wouldn't tell me or even give me any advice if you weren't almost 100% certain. So hence why I could follow. But that now I can actually educate people myself. It goes back to the point of sometimes you just have to turn around to have fun today and poor, because some people do just not want to know, and some people aren't open to the thing. So I always say step one of trying to learn Bitcoin is be open to actually listen, and not just straight away say, no, it's rubbish, FUD. You've got to listen. If you want to hear about it, here's 2 tools. And I always give them a couple of pods and Bitcoin lessons. Then when you want help getting through Coinbase, I know it's scary, I'll help you. I've always offered that. And that's what I normally do. Just talking through it. It's normal to be like this. It's normal like that.
Yeah. Well, what I've realized is there's a reason why whenever I go to a Bitcoin event, I love nearly everyone there. Every single time I just talk to some random guy at an event, we just connect straight away. And it's because to get Bitcoin right now, you have to be open-minded, relatively intelligent, and have high conviction to follow
what you believe.
Yeah. You've discovered something. You've almost found a hole in the matrix, And now you have to really fucking believe it and put your money where your mouth is and show conviction. And those types of people are just my people. They're people that look at the data, they analyze something, they see a problem, and they just go, I'm going to put my time, effort, and money into this thing. And that's where we are right now, which is why nearly all Bitcoiners are people that I just instantly connect with. And it's why I'm on Bitcoin Twitter all the time, making connections, trying to go to as many events as I can. And over time,
that will change.
We're going to lose it.
Change.
We're going to lose it. Eventually, all the masses will be in, and it's like 80% of Bitcoin is going to be retards again.
It will be, because it's going to get to the point where there's going to be people that know everything that don't know anything. You know, the type that we see in the football world all the time. You talk to someone about football and they'll know everything about it, but it'll be all a load of garbage. And it's going to be the same point. And that's really a good point. And I think the open-mindedness and the conviction's key, because you can believe it and go, it's going to go up to this. But have you genuinely gone all in? Yeah. Not many people can say yes. Why else, by the way, caveating that to having a safe life still. So not being all in the sense that you've riddled yourself up to. There's recklessness. But the thing is, when you think about debt, like, I'm leveraged up to debt to my tits, if you think about it. Then you think of, you've got a student loan sat there and you've got a mortgage. That's massive debt, isn't it? You can't pay that off this week. But it's safe debt, isn't it? Ultimately, it's not going to.
I obviously don't agree with it, but
No, you didn't. You had your student loan. You got rid of it. I did that debate with you, though, didn't I? And I've opted out of a very safe pension scheme to pay off a student loan, but then I actually changed my mind to do that from your conversation. So I just bought extra Bitcoin with it.
Yeah, once you've got it, like, the mistake was getting it, but once you've got it, the interest on it is less than the gains you'll make on Bitcoin. So it actually makes sense to leave the gains in Bitcoin and pay the interest.
So that's where the point comes to the house, because the house is obviously going to be a couple of $100K. So you pull out your Bitcoin to pay for that, providing you still got enough in there. But how much is enough to leave in there before you buy it? You don't have a mortgage, don't necessarily have to work, but you still have to work because you haven't got enough extra out.
It should be about, I would say, no more than 20%.
No more than 20, yeah. You want
to leave as much in as you can.
Yeah, that's right. I think
it all depends on your circumstances, your age, all those types of things. So if you're like 60, then it can be 50%.
Yes, it can. Yeah.
But if you're 35, then it should be less, because you've got more years to live. And because all you got to do is like when I did it, right? When I did it, and I got lucky, right? So I did it at the top in 2017, and I knew it was going to be the worst decision of my life financially, but I knew I was doing it, and I was buying time. I was buying my freedom, and that's worth it. I was getting the key to the door to walk out of a 14-hour a day job, 7 days a week. And I got to just walk out and fucking leave it all behind. It was worth the financial hit. And weirdly, I got lucky in the fact that was the top. We had a 3-year bear market. So weirdly, I ended up stacking sats all the way along those 3 years, got all that Bitcoin back plus a little bit more. And then the price went fucking crazy again. So it all kind of worked out where I actually didn't take any financial hit and bought time. It was just happened to be a good trade. That was purely lucky. So when you do it, all you need to do is know you're buying time and know it's the worst trade of your life and just be happy with it.
See, what I'm thinking about, which doesn't technically fit into buying time, but it does in the longer term. So by buying the house, it removes the mortgage, which allows you then to stack more, but you haven't got any debt. Whereas when you actually think about that, that is a little bit backward, because you may as well just keep it in there if you're going to keep it.
You should only ever sell is when you're quitting work. Don't just do it to reduce some mental thing that you're just bothered about. Just remove the bother. That's you just trolling yourself. Just stop doing that bit. And the time that you do it should be, we're done now. We're going to take a portion out. House is paid because we just want it all done. Nice, which I agree with. Get out of the banking system. Fuck giving them profit. I'm never going to give them a penny. So come out, pay all that off, and also have a chunk left to go, that's our spends for the next 5 years. But then we're not going to do anything else. We're going to leave the rest in. And so you're buying time then. You're buying, both of you are retiring and the house is done. That's when you should do it. If you're not at that point and you still need to work, even though the house is paid, then what you're doing, that's silly. Just leave it in. That's a huge amount of money. Just leave it in. every 10% is like a year's wages. So just what you're doing, silly.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Yeah. So there's a lot of thought in this. It's big calls, that, isn't it? It's big decisions.
Yeah. And it's all very personal, right? It's all, people have different decisions. It's just, but just know that the price of Bitcoin is going up to 15 million pound a coin. So like whatever, just times whatever you, however many Satoshis you have, times it by 15 million. That's what that's what you have. The only thing that is stopping you from getting that is your impatience. So you can be patient, you get that. It's we always said, haven't we? It's like having the lottery ticket, and you have the winning numbers, but when the draw happens, it's taking 15 years for the draw. Like you've got number 6, like 18 in that. 6 has come out, 18's come out, 35's come out, and the next 3, the ones you have, but they haven't.
There's only 3 balls. There's only 3 balls in the pool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so you just got to wait for them to drop. And can you wait, or do you want to cash some of the tickets in now? And
I wouldn't. I'd be too nervous doing the cash in at the moment. I've never really sold Bitcoin before, so it'd be a bit of a new world.
Yeah, and that's a good way to be. At the moment, like we're still so cheap. It's literally, it's like I was talking to someone on Twitter today, and it's why aren't you buying Bitcoin? It's 98% off.
Yeah. It's true, isn't it?
We still have like a 50x to go at least, if not more. So why are we not? People are kind of trying to call like local tops and we might be due a pullback. It's like, well, it's on sale. It's 98% off.
Yeah, well, it's almost certain going to pull back. It will certainly go back probably down to 35, then go to 47, then go down to 40, then go to 54. That's how it works, isn't it? You get pullbacks, and it's insignificant if you pull back and you scroll out a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just that although that 15% of Bitcoin that is on exchanges, people they push it backwards and forwards, and the traders and the big boys that have billions purposefully do it. They will sell like, and it will probably happen sometime this week or something. Someone just go on exchange and for lols just sell $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and the price will plummet by 10 or 15%. And that purely because they've got another 2 billion sat on the side, and they'll buy it with that, and then they'll pump it back up. And so you just have to accept the fact that we're in this frothy water. So anything above 40 at the moment is frothy, but then eventually we'll consolidate at 50, then we'll consolidate at 60, 70, and it will just keep going higher and higher. But above the layer that we've consolidated on, it's frothy, and the traders just push the price around. But it's just noise. If you take a leaf out of Sir Neverlook's book, just don't look. And
well, he's sensible with that, and that's why I said to you, didn't I? I said I don't believe that he's sticking to his regime. And you said absolutely is, and I can't believe. I actually can't wait to listen to your pod when I go back to work next week.
Yeah, he asked what the price was. He said, I don't know. And it's like, what the hell? We've just gone over 50K. And he's like, have we? Oh my God, that's massive.
So he obviously doesn't go on Twitter and stuff, does he? Because you can't miss it.
Yeah, I don't think he does massively now.
Although saying that, the Bitcoin Twitter doesn't necessarily quote price very often, does it?
No, it's normally just chatter. So yeah, I don't think he is massively into Bitcoin Twitter, but he's because the thing is, like, he got into Bitcoin like late 2017, and then he had 3 years of pain. He had all the price alerts all set, and they were all just another 20% down, another 20% down, another 20%, and he just didn't want to sell, obviously, so just deleted all the apps, deleted all the notifications, and was like, I don't want to fucking know.
Well, I have
a pain, and then since the price is going up, he's gone, I ain't putting them back, which
so is the right thing. Interesting then. Do you think he was a true Bitcoiner when he was huddling through the 2018 sort of? No, or was he forced into it because he got his ass bitten so much he couldn't afford to press the button himself, because then it's consolidated guaranteed loss?
Yeah. He and to a certain extent, I think he would admit it, that he's only become a true Bitcoiner. He got in 2017 technically, but he didn't become a Bitcoiner until 2021.
Till episode 5. Because I can't remember, but I reckon around episode 5 is when he became it. Because in episode 2, when I was a guest on it, there was no way when we were discussing pricing was either of them, any 3 of them. What's Mark on it? I can't remember if he was on it on that day, but I don't believe any of them were genuinely in by that point.
Yeah,
they obviously were buying that way. But interestingly, I'm doing a marketing module at the moment on my MBA. And this part came in, and it's called generational marketing, right? I thought it was so pertinent to I can't believe I've used that word twice in one pod. Pertinent. I've never used that word before in my life. But anyway, basically, our grandparents' era was called the baby boomers.
Yeah.
And then it was Generation X was like our parents. We're millennials, and Generation Z. And baby boomers basically made the money.
On property.
Yeah, Generation X wasn't that rich. There wasn't that much property, but they were rich because their parents were rich.
Yeah.
And they also had inheritance. By our age, they reckon it's 1 in 3 will have a house. That'll be it. You can afford it.
It's been watered down, hasn't it? It keeps getting watered down.
Yeah, and we can have some inheritance. And they reckon by like our kids' era, Generation Z, they won't have houses. They won't be buying them. They won't be able to. And you can see that already. And that's what we've predicted. I just thought that was just insane. And then
you need to watch last week's pod on the Great Reset, because there's a quote that comes from the World Economic Forum. It says, by 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy.
Wow. Well, that makes sense. Because yeah, I can see that. There's another thing as well that I went through, and it was interesting. It was basically about
the thing to ask yourself, right? If people aren't going to own houses, who is owning them? Someone owns them, don't they?
Yeah,
it's the government, the money printers, and the banks.
Yeah, and then there's one other thing as well. So another type of marketing is, so you got consumption pioneers, and they're your innovators. So I'm trying to work out where you are in this, by the way. Okay, with Bitcoin. So you've got consumption pioneers, and they're innovators. You've got early adopters who adopt the new idea. You got early majority. That's a deliberate move, just above the average person. You got the late majority, which is the skeptical after majority have tried. And then you got the lagging adopters, which is tradition bound.
Laggards. You normally got a chasm there. Normally, there's the what was the first category?
I've called it consumption pioneers. I've actually briefed this down a little bit, because you have got awareness, interest, evaluation, trial, and adoption. That's like how we do it. But the 5 main stages of adoption are,
Normally you have the crazy people that just try everything at the beginning. Then you have the early adopters. Then normally what you have is a chasm, and it's actually called you've got to breach the chasm, because most products and most ideas never get across the chasm.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Because those first categories of people, they just try fucking everything.
Yeah, to be fair, in my example, then we've removed the chasm because we've just assumed the idea is working.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I get what you're saying. So
I'm in the second group there. I'm not in the super early group, because I came in to Bitcoin about 7 years, 8 years late. So they're Satoshi and all those boys.
Consumption pioneers, and then
I'm an early adopter, and then so before the chasm. The chasm is probably being breached about now, and the early majority are here now.
Yeah, because I was working out. I don't think it's fair, but I think I was actually putting myself in the same category as yourself. But then probably not, because it wasn't probably until later years which I put all in to make it worthwhile. So I'm probably very, very early majority.
Yeah, probably.
Whereas you're probably banging them.
You're probably just after the chasm, yeah.
Yeah, and then early majority is a deliberate move, which was by me, and it's above the average, which I'd say that's fair. Then I think we're now in the late majority, but it's weird saying that because
no, we're still early majority.
But do you not think skeptical is still in there? So you got people just testing the water, your hedges and stuff like that. Whilst I'm saying late majority, this is the lagging people are going to be the people buying at $1 million.
Yeah,
they're going to be the people.
The laggards will be buying at 15 million.
I suppose they have to, because it would be forced upon them, won't they? That's the whole point.
They literally refuse to do it. It's like they refused mobile phones until every single person had WhatsApp and refused to text them. And they have to then get a proper phone. So at the moment we're early majority, right? And you just got to work it out. It's very easy to do with Bitcoin. So there's about 200 million wallets that exist right now. There's 8 billion people on the planet. So 200 million out of 8 billion, it's a tiny. So we're just
over. Is that all the amount of wallets we've got? Is that ledgers?
No, 200 million unique addresses on the blockchain.
Okay. Oh, I see. So that's from exchanges. So would you have one address to the exchange, and then would you have one address to the chain from your ledger?
Yeah, well, basically it's a combination of the two. So we can, because obviously with the exchange addresses, they only have 10 addresses, but then there's 5 million people behind it.
So and then Lightning as well. Lightning is going to mess that.
Yeah, there's lightning as well. So it's a guess, right?
But then you're saying unique, so that's guaranteed. Unique is there's always been at least one transaction by 200 million individual investors, aren't you? So that is a fact, isn't it? There might be a few more, but chances are, if you've got that far down Bitcoin, you wouldn't have just gone straight to use Lightning, would you?
No,
You're going to be using the actual blockchain, so it probably is quite an accurate thing.
Yeah, but just factor that in, right? 200 million. So that's a fifth of a billion, 20% of a billion. So of the 8 billion, it's tiny. So at the moment, on your little graph of like the majority that comes in, so basically we'll probably there'll be like 500 million of laggards that are going to be last, and they're going to get super wrecked. And then you've probably got 3 billion of the late majority, 3 billion the early majority. At the moment, we're on 200 million. So we're only just got through the super crazies that just try anything. We've then got the early adopters that are kind of like they take big risk. We've crossed the chasm now, and we're like a couple of layers in. That's it. That's where we are. We're so early, which is why that reflects the price. Because then if you look at putting the price out, we're at 50k here, and at the back when the laggards come in, we're at 15 million. It all kind of plays out. It's it all matches. So yeah, so on that chart, we're over the chasm now. So now that's because the thing is, like, if you buy Bitcoin now, it's not risky, is it? You're not being crazy buying Bitcoin, which means we're over the chasm. When I was getting in and you were getting in, and we're sending money to Estonia, and it was all just fucking money was getting lost for 2 weeks, appearing. What's this ledger thing? Nuts. That's early adopter level. That's nuts, like completely nuts. Why don't you just buy some ISAs or buy some stocks? So that's early adopted. Now, pretty much every country in the world, just go sign up for an account, get an exchange, send some money there, buy some. It's super easy. The chasm has been breached. It's on every single investment program.
Yeah.
Billionaires are getting in. Elon Musk went on Saturday Night Live in America, the most watched TV show in America with like hundreds of millions of views. He went on fucking preaching about Doge fucking coin.
No way.
We are over the chasm. Definitely, but it's just a debate now about how far through we are, and I think we're super early in there. Some people might think we're further in, but I think they're just bearish on price, because all you got to do is work out on the numbers. 200 million people roughly have Bitcoin right now. That's nothing. Actually, it's like a couple of percent of the population. We have fuck tons of room to grow. So
do you think though, with regards to like the altcoins, the shit coins, are they going to definitely delay adoption, aren't they? Because there's a lot of money chucked into the Ethereums of the world, Doge, LFTs. So makes you think, doesn't it? Like all that money, how long do these last for in the shadow of? And like, can Ethereum, if it follows on trend as well, you're going to have Ethereum and probably all the other shit coins are going to have their pump just behind Bitcoin, as they always do follow it. How far can Ethereum go? Has it got the potential to go any higher than the 10 grand?
It might get to 10k or something like that. Yeah, maybe it does, but it's not. It still hasn't got a working product.
No, it's flawed, but people don't understand that. That's the point. They just.
But eventually, people realize it, right? So at the moment, it's pure speculation, and it doesn't need to do anything. You just buy it on an exchange.
Okay, yeah, because we're early adopted, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. If you're buying Bitcoin or Ethereum or a shitcoin, then yeah, you're in the kind of crazy land, because they've only got a couple of million users. So in comparison to the 8 billion, you're the nutter. So in a weird way, yeah, there's gains to be made, but
that's it. It's an investment, isn't it? It's not there for the future. It's there for the now, isn't it?
It's more of a gamble. It's like going to the roulette table and going, I want to bet on red, and you spin the thing. And if it comes in, you look a genius. If it goes out, you look like a dick. And at the moment, like that's what's happening in shitcoin land, right? There's 9,000 coins. There's about 5 that outperform Bitcoin, which means there's 8,995 that didn't. And a lot of them didn't just outperform it; they went to fucking zero. So it's literally like a roulette table, right? Where there's, I don't know, like 9,000 numbers. You bet on 5 numbers and then you spin the wheel. And if any number comes in other than your one, you lose everything. And whereas with Bitcoin, it's like you've got every number already done and you just spin it and you just make 10% a week. Right? So but a lot of people go 10% isn't enough for me. I want a 10x. I want 1,000% this week. All right, we'll go to that table over there. There's 9,000 numbers on it. You can bet on 5, spin the wheel and see what happens. And obviously 99% of the time, it lands on red and you lose everything. But all we hear about is the couple of people that get it good. They go on Twitter with their Lambo and their couple of $1 million worth of profit and go, shitcoining's the future. If I'd invested Bitcoin, I'd only have had this. Instead, I invested in this shitcoin and I've got that. And it's survivorship bias. Like, for every one of them, there's 999 people that got wrecked and are not on Twitter and are back flipping burgers in McDonald's now.
Yeah. That's and that's the other thing as well, isn't it? Whilst we're still thinking of all Bitcoin and all the digital currencies as methods of investment, making money, there's no need for it to be a real product, is there? That is the ultimate point, isn't it? There's no product in having an Amazon share. It just goes up, and then you sell it, and you make money again. So people will eventually be trained out of that and think, well, you can use Bitcoin now when you go abroad, so you don't have to do an exchange rate, etc. Once that starts, but then penny will drop when they go, I want to spend Ethereum in Cyprus next week, not Bitcoin. Oh, you can't spend Ethereum. Why not? No, you just can't at the moment. Okay, it must be later. So I get Bitcoin. And then before you know it, people will start doing that.
Yeah, there's a great tweet from Vitalik, who's the founder of Ethereum. I retweeted it the other day. I think it's from 2014 or 2015. And it was just when he was creating Ethereum. And the price of a transaction on Bitcoin was 5 cents. And he was saying it's disgraceful that the future of money has a fee as high as 5 cents. So I'm creating Ethereum, and here it is. That was 7 years ago when he created Ethereum. And then if we fast forward to today, the price of an average Ethereum transaction today is $50.
Jesus.
So he created Ethereum because he thought 5 cents of a transaction was too high. He created a product that ended up being $50. So he didn't even deliver. It's like 1,000 times more expensive on Ethereum than it was on Bitcoin back then. So he did not solve the problem, but somehow he's still going. And they just reinvent the best thing about Ethereum is its marketing. Because
I was just going to say it's marketing.
The product itself doesn't. So what they keep doing is evolving what the product is. Originally, it was a Bitcoin competitor. Then it was an ICO platform. Then it was a DeFi platform. Now it's an NFT platform. It doesn't actually even, like, if you're like a relatively normal person and want to buy an NFT, you have to pay something like, I think the amount of transactions you have to do to actually buy an NFT and store it and stuff is like 2 or 3 transactions. So that's $150 you have to spend just to get your NFT. And so if you want to buy your little JPEG to put as your Twitter profile picture just to flex on the plebs online, if you've only got $1,000 or $500, say, your $150 is just going to be sending it around.
Transactions. Yeah, Jesus.
So for the average person who just, like, whenever I've talked to people about Bitcoin, typically, like, they only want to get in with a couple of $100 early, a couple of £100, whatever it might be. On Ethereum, that's impossible because that's what the fees are. So yeah, it's just a nonsense. And this is the thing with all the shit coins. They all run their course. But the thing is, like, in the history of all versions of money, in the history of just human beings anyway, there's always people looking for quick gains. There's scammers that stand there next to the legitimate product going, we're better. And a huge percent of the stupid money and the dumb money goes to the scammers. It happens every single time. So as sad as it is, would you say
that's like the dumb early adopters, the early people that are a little bit, you said one of the things you liked about Bitcoiners at the moment are like half intelligent, they got conviction, and they're open-minded. So there's 3 major traits there. So you could have open-minded, you could have conviction, but if you haven't got the brains,
exactly,
and that's where you fall down. So you do need to have the combined package. You can't just be open-minded. You have to have that little bit of intelligence, and that which gives you research. Intelligence gives you research, which obviously you don't have to be super intelligent in research, but you have to have that mindset and generally sensible. I don't believe you get born a genius. You map a genius brain through years of doing the right things with it. I generally think that you don't just be naturally super clever. when it's coming to things like, who's ever shown you Bitcoin? Only you can go and look for it.
I mean,
You educate yourself.
People definitely get born with genius brains, but yeah, it's just about knowledge and educating yourself. Yeah. So occasionally, like at a Bitcoin event, I'll meet someone and they'll be a bit stupid, and they'll just be, I don't know, just the way they talk and like what they want to do that evening. It's just all a bit weird. And if I keep talking to them, I realize, oh, they are a bit of a Bitcoiner, but really they trade shit coins. I go, so here we are. So they've got different characteristics, right? So they don't have the brains. They haven't figured this out yet. And one of their biggest things is about time preference. Bitcoiners tend to have a low time preference and they're patient and they wait. They don't want the immediate gratification. Shitcoiners have high time preference. They want gains today. And even though they will override their brain, even if they are smart, they're so greedy and they just want stuff to show off and show the world. They normally got Instagram accounts. They got big egos. This is all the stuff that then just makes you a shit of a human being and fundamentally makes you poor, because once you start buying into all that stuff, essentially it means you're a little bit dumb, because you should realize that doing that stuff might look impressive and might get you a circle of friends or maybe like an attractive partner short term, but it's all just for show, right? So they're going to realize the truth once they get in. They're going to realize it's all just bollocks. And so that's the difference between it. And unfortunately, obviously, all these people are going to come into Bitcoin eventually, because all these shit coins they pump, but then they dump. So if you look at the top 10 shit coins over the last 12 years, they're constantly changing. There's barely any one that has stayed consistent over the last 10 years. They keep coming in and then drop out. So I don't doubt if we even fast forward another 10 or 20 years, Bitcoin will be 15 million pounds a coin. There will be a new shitcoin project and people will be going, this is the new Bitcoin. Even when the entire world is denominating Bitcoin, someone will launch a coin saying this is the new Bitcoin, and a couple of million people will fall for it and make the founders super rich. And you'll just be sat there going, what the hell is going on? But it's just the scams every day, right? There's scams now, there's scams in the fiat world. Your phone rings, someone tells you they got a great investment. Please invest in my wine, in my stocks, in my whatever. Like there's scammers everywhere, and unfortunately, because people fall for it, people will always fund and make it and incentivize scammers to exist. Because if they didn't fall for it, the scammers wouldn't do it.
That's right, yeah. No, quality. Right, should we leave it there? We didn't even touch the agenda, by the way.
No, I just stayed on Bitcoin, the price, and what we're doing. But it's been a good chat.
It's been quality.
Been missing for 2 or 3 weeks, haven't we? So we get back to agenda next week.
Yeah, sound. All right, bro. Have fun.
Staying poor.